Racetrack Playa, Death Valley. This place is famous for its sailing stones, big rocks that move when no one's looking. Ooh, people know they've moved because they leave a track behind them, but no one has ever seen them move. Oh, mysterious. We should send in Scoob and the gang and figure out what's going on with this one. The winds in this area reach up to 90 miles per hour, so it could be the reason that the rocks are sailing across the ground. But my theory is gnomes that are living inside the rocks and move the rocks around like Flintstone cars so you don't see any footprints. Either way, I'm sure someone could crack the code on this mystery with a GoPro set up and a little bit of time lapse to debunk this whole gnome theory, but please don't, because I want to believe gnomes live in rocks. Number 9. Mount Shasta, Redding, California. Mount Shasta has been a major hub for all sorts of spiritual people, from Buddhist monks to white girls with dreadlocks who have crystals who call themselves bumbleweed. It's said to be one of the world's cosmic power spots. What does that mean? I have no idea. Do I look like someone who knows what a cosmic power spot is? I think it means if you hang out there for a long enough time you get some sort of superpowers or something. The Native Americans believe that it connects to the above spirit world, so I'm guessing it's some sort of heaven-like spot. There's also been reports of UFO sightings and strange energy readings. Maybe it's a huge gas leak and everyone who goes there is just getting super high. Number 8. The Oregon Vortex. This one is crazy. It seems like some sort of supernatural anomaly or magnetic energy powerhouse. The Oregon Vortex used to be used as a mining facility and now is home to some of the strangest happenings. Many people who enter immediately feel vertigo. There's videos of balls rolling uphill, sticks and brooms that stand on their own when left in places where they should fall over. The people around you will seem to shrink and grow before your very eyes. This sounds like one of those places where I would sit on the outer rim just looking in and eating a sandwich and yelling, "Hey, how's it going in there?" A couple more fun facts about this anomaly is that local Native American tribes call it the Forbidden Place and animals refuse to enter it. Yeah, I think that settles it. Me and Toto are gonna chill on the outside enjoying some expensive cold cuts while you guys dive into the gates of hell. Number 7. The Georgia Guidestones. Nothing like a giant monument paid by a guy who wants to start a new religion. The Georgia Guidestones are in Elbert County, Georgia, and they're there not to guide you physically, but spiritually. They were thrown up in 1979 and paid for by R.C. Christian, who there is still very little known about to this day. He wanted to erect a giant monument to people with 10 new commandments. New commandments with judo chop action. Some of these new commandments I could get behind. I mean, there's nothing about how you shouldn't bang your neighbor's wife, but maybe back in 1979 he didn't put it up there because it was just something that everyone knew you weren't supposed to do. But some of them are like balance personal rights and social duties, and avoid petty laws and useless officials. But the first commandment is maintain humanity under 500 million in order to have perpetual balance with nature. I'm sorry dude, but we already threw that one out the window. If all you need to start a new religion is some commandments, I'll kick off some right now. Some commandments for the Church of Che, like be chill, stay hot, put cheese on it, let's dance, take a nap, backflips are dope, free gym memberships, get wrecked, hit the beach, and Blade 2 was underrated. Number 6. The Coral Castle. This one is absolutely bonkers. It's a giant castle made out of limestone that was apparently all built by one man. The castle was built between the years of 1923 and 1951 and is a few miles south of Miami. Some of the slabs that were used to build this mega house were said to have been even heavier than some of the cubes that put the pyramids together. The place was thrown together by a Latvian immigrant named Edward Leedskilini. This dude must have like a 9,000 pound deadlift. He could probably power clean a Jeep Wrangler. However, this Latvian powerhouse said he didn't move the stones by hand, but he had found the secrets to the pyramids. There are even reports of him levitating stones that no man could move. The craziest part about this is he built the castle as a tribute to his fiancée who left them on his wedding day. I guess after a breakup you have two options: move on and start a new life, or never get over it and get superpowers. Number 5. Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, the name alone shows that you probably shouldn't go there. Like, where do you want to go? Disneyland? Or Skinwalker Ranch? Yeah, I'm gonna choose the one that sounds like it's named after the guy who would make cowboy boots out of campers. Well, Skinwalker Ranch is known for having a ton of supernatural things go down there, from alien sightings to strange lights appearing and disappearing out of nowhere. The place gets its name from a Native American myth of the Skinwalkers, who were people who could transform into any animal. Native Americans have also said that the area is cursed with a dark energy. I honestly think I would be fine there. I think if a skinwalker tried to take my identity, I would just show him how many parking tickets I owe. Number 4. Sadova Sanctuary, Trout Lake. Do you like aliens? Well, you better head down to Sadova Sanctuary, as it's been a hotbed for UFO activity for nearly 50 years. If you want ET to come down and touch you with that weird little glowy finger, then this is the place for you. It's literally a UFO retreat run by James Gilliland, who is a UFO fanatic. He's founded 2 different operations dedicated to learning more about aliens, and he's been letting people come up to check out the cool alien view since 1986. Almost everyone who goes up there has some sort of encounter with an alien, whether it's strange lights flying through the sky or actual alien crafts in perfect sight, or a soft kiss from a Klingon. Everyone who goes up comes home with some sort of story to tell. Number 3. Earthwork in Newark, Ohio. It's super old, it used to be massive, and it's definitely a mystery. The Newark earthwork is very strange, as many people don't even know what it was used for. Some people believe that ancient Native American tribes could have used it as burial sites or as a church, while some people think that the area was cleared out so they could better map out the stars. This spot is also super old. Some of the older parts are dating back as far as 100 BC. It was also massive. It stretched over 4 square miles. Sadly, encroaching development has destroyed most of it, but there are still a few major structures that stand. I guess if you want to look at the stars now in Newark, you're probably better off Googling them. Number 2. Mel's Hole, Manashdash, Washington. I would hate to work at this place. All day, you would just hear the same dumb jokes over and over again. How big is Mel's Hole? How deep is Mel's Hole? How many people have come from Mel's Hole? How many people have been inside Mel's Hole? Has anyone ever got lost inside Mel's Hole? Are my hopes and dreams inside Mel's Hole? Well, all the hack jokes aside, this thing is pretty crazy. It's a 9-foot wide bottomless pit. People have tried to reach the bottom in all sorts of ways to no avail. It's even said that the hole has some sort of supernatural power, that if you were to throw a dead animal into it, that it would come back alive. There was one report from the 17th century of a family throwing their deceased dog into the pit, and the dog later walked out of the forest completely rejuvenated. How am I just learning about this now? Someone dig up Harambe, we got a gorilla to save. Number 1 on the list is Champy. The Loch Ness Monster thought he was the only creepy dragon creature wandering around open water, but it looks like we've got our own that's made its home in Lake Champlain, which is situated in the French-Canadian province of Quebec. That's right, North America has its own version of Loch Ness, and he even speaks French, which means he's sexier. Champy got his name from the lake he makes his home in, and like most creatures of his ilk, there is no hard evidence to support the creature's existence. However, there have been several sightings. Over 300 actually. That's more sightings than the rest of NSYNC since Justin Timberlake left. The Iroquois and Abenaki are 2 Native American tribes from the area, and they both have legends of some sort of snake-like creature living in the lake. I'm gonna have to go out on a limb and say Champy is real. And is the lake people on TLC.
But Julius's obsession with balloons goes beyond shapes and colors.
My love for balloons, it's also a sex
in Sedona, Arizona. There's said to be pockets of supernatural energy that will give you a personal boost. This is like Superman flying into the sun. Why spend hundreds of dollars on a spa package when you can just drive in your 1997 Toyota Corolla to a spot and get juiced up by magical energy? Way better and way cheaper.
Number 10. Bohemian Grove. The only way you're getting to this super exclusive club is if you're a very powerful man. Bohemian Grove is a private club for the most powerful men in the US, located on a restricted 2,700-acre campground on Bohemian Ave in Monte Rio, California. Every July, its members travel to the grounds for a 2-week retreat to relax and specifically not network. There is little known about what happens during the retreat. One thing powerful men are good at is keeping things hidden. The club's all-male membership includes many artists, musicians, prominent business leaders, government officials, former presidents, and senior media executives. Members are also allowed to bring guests and even rent out the grounds for its off-season private events. If your interest has been sparked, good luck getting anywhere near Bohemian Grove. It's protected by security year-round, with the club employing ex-military personnel to secure the area. They also utilize high-end equipment like thermal cameras and vibration sensing alarm systems. Some presidents that have visited are George Bush, Richard Nixon, and Ronald Reagan. Basically, there's no chance of getting in unless you have some pretty important friends. Number 9. The Coca-Cola Vault. Coca-Cola is one of the biggest brands in the world. The corporation was founded in 1892, so the recipe has been around for over 120 years. It definitely has undergone some tweaks since the 1800s, but now it doesn't contain illegal substances, so it really only changed for the better. The secret formula is located inside World of Coca-Cola in Atlanta, Georgia. While you can absolutely visit the museum itself, showcasing the history of the company, the actual vault that holds the formula is off limits. The actual recipe is located inside of a metal box inside of a 6.6-foot high vault, which is then further protected by a barrier, and the entire area has surveillance with armed guards. The door to the vault can only be opened by a keypad with a hand scanner. It sounds a bit extreme to take all these measures over the recipe for Coke, but with the company bringing in over $42 billion in 2022, the extra security makes total sense. I never thought about seeing the formula of Coke, but now that I know it's in a highly guarded fancy safe, I've never wanted to see something more. Number 8. Granite Mountain Records Vault. The world's largest collection of genealogical records lives in a secure vault located quite literally in the mountains near Salt Lake City, Utah. The Granite Mountain Records Vault was built in 1965 by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The purpose of the vault is to preserve and protect records of importance to the church, like its vast collection of family history microfilms. This is an extremely secure facility with no public access allowed. What we do know is that it's home to 2.4 million rolls of microfilm containing approximately 3.5 billion images of family history records. I guess when the Mormon Church says they're a family-centered faith, they aren't kidding. The church is collecting all of these microfilmed images in order to digitize them and turn them into digital records available through FamilySearch.org. Some people think there is more going on in that facility than we're being told, with conspiracy theories and suspicions surrounding the whole operation. The vault is located under 700 feet of solid mountain stone with 3 tunnels and 4 cross tunnels inside, spanning over 65,000 square feet. They also have reinforced entrance doors that weigh 14 tons each and were said to be able to withstand a nuclear blast. These factors are what really led people to being skeptical of their operations, because A, that's a lot of room for converting microfilms, B, that's a lot of security for the names of the deceased, and C, more recent images of the vault seem to show they've expanded the facility to now have 5 entrances instead of 3. Some thoughts surrounding what else is stored there are significant artifacts, ancient relics, or even a bunker. Maybe the expansion is just for expanding operations, but who knows, maybe they really are hiding something else in that vault. At number 7. Area 51. The widely known name refers to that of a highly classified United States Air Force facility located in Nevada, which is highly prohibited to those without authorization. The fact that it's a government facility that is super off limits and highly guarded has led people to famously associate Area 51 with aliens. For decades now, the facility has been the eye of a conspiracy theory storm, with people convinced that aliens and their technology exist behind its walls. Being told you can't go somewhere or that something is a secret only makes you more interested to know about it. There have been many books, TV shows, and even plans online for massive raids trying to get a glimpse of what lies beyond the very prominent warning signs, to no success. success. Upon looking at Area 51, it appears like the only protection against unwanted guests is the many warning signs, but apparently not a single thing goes unnoticed. Beyond the gates, cameras see every angle, watching everything below. Locals say the base knows every desert tortoise and jackrabbit that hops the fence. No matter how interested you may be, only a select few have access to what goes on there, causing so many theories and speculations. Who knows, maybe it's alien experiments, maybe it's the most mundane, boring work we could ever imagine. Either way, we aren't going to be finding out anytime soon. Number 6. Cheyenne Mountain Complex. It's located at Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station, or CMAF, within the Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The CMAF falls under Air Force Base Command and hosts the activities of several tenant units. At the height of the Cold War, the idea of a hardened command center was thought of as a defense against long-range Soviet bombers. The Army Corps of Engineers supervised the excavation of Cheyenne Mountain and the construction of an operational center. The facility became fully operational as the NORAD Combat Operations Center in early 1967. Since it's a big old place for government stuff, Cheyenne Mountain Complex is protected and closed to the public. It's located under 2,000 feet of granite with 6 tunnels, each 3 stories tall. It's also secured against seismic activity and nuclear explosions. So basically, it's pretty high on the list of places I would like to be during a zombie apocalypse. It has 2 main blast doors which are 3.5 feet thick and weigh over 20 tons. These massive doors close in times of emergency and have only been shut once during 9/11. Since this complex is home to so many important operations like a space control center and national warning facility, it's locked and guarded to the nines. That being said, since we know some of what's going on down there, it's far less desirable to visit. At number 5. Tillamook Rock Lighthouse. Located on the northern Oregon coast of the United States, also known as Terrible Tilly or just Tilly, this is one lighthouse that you can't visit. Tilly gained its nickname from the ferocious storms and difficulties facing the lighthouse keepers. Tillamook Rock rises nearly 100 feet from the sea and is located 20 miles south of the mouth of the Columbian River. Building the lighthouse in the first place was rough. The first person hired to take on the project was master mason and lighthouse builder John Trewavis. Unfortunately, John ended up being swept out to sea after falling off the rock before he could get far. After this incident, craftsmen were reluctant to work on the lighthouse, but construction foreman Charles Ballantyne stepped up with a crew of 8. Once on the rock, the men worked under horrible conditions. One day the wind was so bad it swept away their supply house and left workers stranded for 16 days. After preparing the rock, the construction of Tilly took over 100 days to complete. Tillamook Rock Lighthouse began operations in January 1881. With a starting budget of just $50,000, Tilly cost closer to $125,000 in the end. Duty at Tillamook Rock meant isolation, horrible storms, and hazardous environment. On top of that, supplies sent to the rock were often delayed for days or even weeks. It was decommissioned in 1957 due to the extensive wear and tear. The lighthouse has bounced between a few private owners since shutting off its light. Even if you wanted to visit Tilly today, you'd have to resort to a helicopter because of the harsh waters. The rock is even off limits to its owners come time for the seabird nesting season. At number 4, Dulce Base. Like Area 51, Dulce Base is the subject of conspiracy theories claiming that a jointly operated human and alien underground facility exists. Apparently, the facility lies under the Archuleta Mesa Mountain on the Colorado-New Mexico border near the town of Dulce, New Mexico. On the surface, Dulce is just your average small town, so small it doesn't even have a single traffic light. According to the bizarre claims, the small town is just the tip of the iceberg. The alleged massive underground facility is said to be home to unimaginable experiments and technologies. For the extreme alien believers, we are all overlooking a high-tech world full of aliens. According to the conspiracy theorists, the Dulce subterranean base is a 7-story compound that houses human-animal hybrids, human-alien hybrids, and extremely advanced technologies. It is possible that it's all made up, but if the government really was experimenting with aliens, it would make sense that they do it under a mountain near a very small town. One thing I find interesting about the Dulce base is that these theories are not new. First claims of the base's existence date all the way back to the 1930s. The rumors of alien intervention didn't start up until the 70s when a former state police trooper named Gabe Valdez documented unexplained cattle mutilations in the area. There have also been claims of UFO sightings and other paranormal activity in the area over the years. Secret aliens or not, it sounds like there's definitely something strange going on in Dulce that I don't want to look any further into. Number 3, Fort Knox. I bet you've heard at least least once in your life someone make a reference to something being harder to get into than Fort Knox, and there's a reason for this. Fort Knox is a United States Army installation in Kentucky, south of Louisville. The reason it's so hard to get into Fort Knox is because of the Bullion Depository, a fortified vault located adjacent to the Fort Knox Army Post. It's operated by the United States Mint Police, and it's super well known for its physical security. The depository was built back in 1936 and is operated by the United States Department of the Treasury. The excessive security is in place because it's home to over half the entire country's gold reserves. Early shipments of gold totaling almost 13,000 metric tons were escorted by combat cars to the depository. In the past, it's also been home to other precious items like the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence. Fort Knox is so heavily protected and secure that the vicinity is off limits to visitors. Even the president has limitations. In fact, only one president has ever been allowed entry, and that was Franklin Roosevelt back in 1943. Along with the heavy-duty physical barriers and fences, the government pays $5 million annually just for security. Number 2. North Brother Island. This tiny island in New York City is located smack dab in the middle of the East River between the Bronx and Rikers Island. It was the site of the infamous Riverside Hospital for quarantinable diseases. If you've ever heard of Typhoid Mary, this is the place where she spent her final days and finally succumbed to her namesake illness in 1938. After World War II, the island was repurposed as housing for veterans and their families. Then it transitioned to being a rehabilitation center for adolescent substance use, which ended up closing in the 60s amid allegations of fraud. After being home to many dark but important facilities, the entire North Brothers Island was closed permanently to the public and became a bird sanctuary. That being said, photographer Christopher Payne was able to go to the island in 2006 after being granted access by the New York City Department of Recreation. The photos he captured of the island are a little haunting, especially with its history of rehab centers and hospitals for the disease. These photos are interesting to see, but do not make me want to visit the abandoned island even if I could. The whole place looks like it's been taken over by, well, birds, and it's crazy that it's so close to the hustle and bustle of the city. Many people have stepped foot on the North Brother Island over the years, but now the only way to get a glimpse is through Payne's photos or if you have wings and a beak. And at number 1, Niihau Island. This island has been privately owned for over 100 years with only an estimated 170 residents. The invite-only island sparked so much interest from travelers across the world due to its extreme exclusivity, commonly referred to as Hawaii's Forbidden Island. It is the westernmost main and 7th largest inhabited island in all of Hawaii. Niihau is also a crucial habitat for some endangered plant species. The island was purchased by Elizabeth St. Clair in 1864 for just $10,000, which would be the equivalent to about $170,000 in 2021. St. Clair purchased it from the Kingdom of Hawaii, and the ownership has been passed down for generations, currently belonging to her grandsons, the Robinson brothers. The island is off limits to all outsiders unless the brothers Bruce and Keith personally invite you for a visit. The people of Niihau are noted for their remarkable craftsmanship and mainly speak in Hawaiian. The reason they have kept the island off limits to the outside world is due to a promise made to a former Hawaiian king. The promise was to protect the island from the mainland and the rest of the world to maintain the beloved heritage, and that's exactly what they've done. To this day, Niihau has rejected the use of modern technologies and survives without electricity, running water, internet, doors, restaurants, paved roads, or cars. A modern-day ancient civilization. It would be fascinating to see how they do things over on Niihau, but it's nice to know they've kept their promise for so long.
This off in at number 10, we have Villisca Axe Murderer House of Villisca, Iowa, easily the most notable murders out of Iowa. This story has haunted the town of Villisca since 1912. On June 10th of that year, the new house got a new nickname, the Axe Murder House, after a gruesome murder took place. Josiah B. Moore and his wife, along with their 4 young children and 2 guests of the family, were bludgeoned to death with, you guys guessed it, an axe. Well, what's more, they never identified who did it to them. The authorities investigated for 10 years and had famous grand jury trials over what would be called today as, well, famously said by Donald Trump, is fake news. Slander lawsuits took place and many political careers were broken because of it all.
Information that was false and fake and never happened got released to the public.
As the story goes, the family had a normal day leading up to the evening, with their kids at a Sunday school program and their 2 neighbors joining and spending the night. The axe used was already on the Moore property and is the ominous weapon used against the 8 victims. But the strangest thing about this eerie tale is that the axe was found next to a pond of bacon, and all of the windows and mirrors were covered up with clothes and piece of wood from furniture. There was blood everywhere, and there was a plate of uneaten food. Is this real life right now? I have no idea what is going on. The mysterious killer must have had to go on to the next family, because from 1911 to 1912 there was a slew of other eerily similar axe murderers in Iowa. There is said to be as many as 24 similar murder cases that were never solved. Number 9, the Winchester Mystery House, San Jose, California. This is the story of Sarah Lockwood Winchester and the mystery behind her choice to do construction on the house every single day from when she moved in. Her late husband, William Wirt Winchester, is the man responsible for the Winchester rifle, a historically famous gun that is said to have, won the West. Well, they had a baby girl who died 6 weeks after birth, and her husband passed away shortly after that from tuberculosis. Legends have it that Sarah had spoken to a fortune teller of sorts who told her to leave her home in Connecticut and move west. She chose San Jose, but it gets even more strange. This medium had told her that the bad fortune that her family had was because of the men that were killed at the hands of the famous Winchester rifle, and that she needed to build a house big enough for all of them if she wanted to remain alive. Well, this house is a whopping 24,000 square feet. I can't imagine how many bathrooms are in that place. The house was under 24/7, 365 construction for 38 years. Absolutely insane. She really wanted to take the advice seriously. You can just imagine how insane that would be. Just to give you guys a hint, there are 10,000 windows, 47 stairways, and 6 kitchens, because why not? You never know what room you're in where you're gonna get hungry. Alright, moving right along on this list, at number 8 we have the Sultan's Palace, New Orleans, the house at 1716 Dauphine Street, which is a classic French quarter palace. In 1836, it was said to be leased by the Turkish Sultan when the owner was in a bind, but they needed money but they didn't want to sell it. For months, parties took place that were said to have uniformed men and beautiful women in. Well, concern from the neighbors came when it obviously turned it into an opium den and could hear screams over the loud music that was constantly playing. No one knew what truly went on in that house unless they went in themselves. But the great mystery of the house was the Sultan's demise. One morning a passerby noticed that there was blood dripping from the windows and front steps of the palace. Police arrived on the scene only to find men and women and children scattered around the property, dismembered. Their body parts was virtually everywhere. Is this real life right now? They found one man buried in the courtyard who initially assumed to be the Sultan, but it was in fact his brother. Coming in hot at number 7 of this list, we have a Moundsville Penitentiary, West Virginia. Well, you might recognize this old prison if you were to see it. MTV's Fear Show made it famous again. The decommissioned prison had thought to be haunted before it was shut down and reopened again for tours. Aside from MTV, there have been a ton of ghost hunters, documentary filmmakers. I mean, why not? This place is creepy, it's haunted. I mean, probably Sam and Dean Winchester, they're probably gonna go there as well. Ed and Lorraine Warren, they probably had to holy water a lot of beings, a lot of creatures and demons. Well, this prison holds up to 2,000 prisoners. They executed almost 100 prisoners who is said to have haunted the prison to this day, and nearly 1,000 dead in total. The building was decommissioned in 1995 and now only exists for public tours. Fun fact, actually, Charles Manson once petitioned to be transferred to this location. I'm not sure why. I mean, this guy's crazy.
You don't understand me. That's your trouble.
Number 6, we're bringing you St. Augustine Lighthouse, St. Augustine in Florida. Well, some say this is the most haunted lighthouse in America. It's also the oldest. It might be one of the most haunted ones in the world. Many people lost their lives in or around the lighthouse, and it is believed that their spirits never left the ground. One of the most famous ghost stories from this, pretty eerie place is the 2 petite sisters that can be heard giggling at night. Now, if I'm sleeping in bed and I'm hearing people laughing, I don't think that's too funny. I would be horrified. Their father worked at a lighthouse, and through an unforeseen accident, the two sisters and their friend had fallen off the cliff and drowned. This may not have been no accident. Another tale of the lighthouse keeper's ghost is said to have spent the last 100 years around the property after falling to his sudden death. Some even say he doesn't even know he's dead, and he's just been seen walking around smoking a cigar. Number 5, we've got the Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana, built on top of an Indian burial ground back in 1796. I'm not sure why people are building things on like cemeteries. You hear about like all these churches being built on cemeteries, or you're just building things on dead people. Why? Well, this sprawling plantation is said to be haunted by at least 12 different ghosts. It is now being turned into a bed and breakfast. Definitely not a place I want to get up in the morning. I'm not having my coffee on top of a dead person. But let me tell you guys a little bit about Chloe. Well, Chloe is said to be the most vengeful of the ghosts that occupied this property. Well, she was hung from a tree after poisoning her slave's master's wife and 2 children with cake. Chloe sought revenge after her death, and we've even found pictures that have been taken present time with a vision of a little girl in a green dress and a head turban on the property and in the windows as people tour and take pictures of their time there. Another ghost still calls this plantation home. A man was shot by the owner of the house after the Chloe era. I mean, there's a lot of history going on in that place. Our number 4, we have a Bell Witch Cave, Adams, Tennessee. This 320-acre home was purchased by the Bell family back in 1804. John Bell was a farmer, and he moved there with his wife and children. But 13 years after they had settled, they started to notice paranormal activity. The legend says that the family started to notice animals roaming the property and sounds of chains being dragged through the house. Over the years, Bell had reported to others that the presence began speaking to him and said her name was Kate, the Bell's witch. This Kate character tormented the family, but specifically John's daughter Betsy, scratching her, pulling her hair, and pinching her. It is believed that she was trying to stop Betsy's engagement, and when Betsy finally broke down, Kate said that she would leave her alone and return in 7 years. And again in 104 years. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be around, so you can do whatever you want to me. Some people think Kate never left because the entire town continued to experience her wrath. Finally, in at number 3, we have one of the most haunted places in America. We have Drummond, Arizona. It is said to be an entire haunted town. So we're not talking about like a building or a cemetery. We're talking about the whole damn place here. It is specifically known for the Drummond Hotel, which was formerly built and used as a hospital and an insane asylum, because why not? A hospital that has over 9,000 deaths. Originally built in 1927, the hospital had a short lifespan, and it sat vacant for nearly 4 decades before it was turned into the Drummond Grand Hotel in 1996. The haunting started right away and were said to be the ghosts of the tortured asylum patients. Keep an eye or an arrow for Claude Harvey, who was a maintenance man on the property in 1935. His body was found pinned underneath an elevator. Even though the elevator had not crushed him, it appeared though he was murdered and his body was just dumped there. Or maybe he was just left there, he wasn't crushed, and maybe he just died from starvation. Or maybe he saw a spider and freaked out under there. Well, there is at least 5 other ghost sightings that include women and children, and several freak accidents that have happened at this property, including a man confined to a wheelchair falling to his death from a balcony, and in the same haunted room, a man killed himself. And also, make sure you guys don't ask about room 32. Number 2 on this list, we have Stepp Cemetery, Benton, Louisiana. So it's kind of obvious that cemeteries are creepy and should be avoided, well, unless you need to pay your respects. But one little spot in Louisiana, well, it's said to be the former home of a cult that sacrificed animals and had orgies. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. Our research did not determine if it was in that order. There's many stories about this, specifically in volume 5 of an old Indiana folklore book. But one that stands out is of a baby who passed away, and the mother was so distraught, she dug up a burial site for the infant, and she could still be roaming around the area today, weeping and dressed in black near her daughter's grave. You might think all cemeteries look the same, but when you get to this one, you'll definitely notice that most most of the gravestones are cracked or broken, which is a bad omen in itself. Number 1 on this list, we have Moon River Brewery, Savannah, Georgia, the American Institute of Paranormal Psychology, which is obviously why we put this in the number 1 spot. New owners of the brewery noticed that something was up when they purchased it in the 90s, although it's been uninhabited for decades. Well, we all remembered that our first beer and drunken shenanigans can get out of hand, but not bottles flying out of thin air and smashing against the wall kind of sort of hand, you know? So imagine just getting drunk and all of a sudden a beer just goes flying out of nowhere and you're the only one in that room. Well, the building back then served as a hospital and hundreds of people died with yellow fever. Well, these ghosts take up every edge of the brewery with special attention on the 2nd floor, or of course the basement. One woman was pushed down the stairs while the other had a frightening experience in the woman's bathroom.